Thanks for staying with us. So, in what appeared to be a cold relationship between the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, and the Senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Akpoti, raised its ugly head last Thursday as a visibly frustrated Natasha accused the Senate President of intentionally suppressing her voice and preventing her from participating in legislative motions. The Senate President then ordered the sergeants at arms to remove the Senator Natasha, from the hallowed chamber. Now, of course, womanhood stood up and said, "What nonsense! International Women's Day is across the streets, and here we are trying to silence the voice of a woman." However, other angles started coming up on what could have happened or led to this, and obviously, many have said that there is a lot of backstory that probably we didn't know about before this happened. For those of you who've been following this story for a while, we know of some of these back and forth with Senator Natasha and the Senate President. But what are your thoughts on the drama and the conduct of the two distinguished senators? And those are pretty much the angles we want to talk about. It's just the various understanding that this woman, this Senator Natasha, used to be a favorite of the Senate President. They were really close. Now, going back to what happened on that video, according to the story, because of the moving, the party members were moving from APC to PDP, so certain positions, so certain seats were vacant, and then she was reallocated a new seat. But then from the reports, obviously in the Senate, one thing we have to understand by the Senate is that where you sit is very important because it can lead to how influential you are, what level you are, and seniority is also very important. So they can put you in a one seat that nobody will see you, and you won't have a voice, and you can be among some really power brokers where you can negotiate and lobby. So she obviously wasn't interested in moving to that new seat. Obviously, maybe it's not a very, very attractive area. But the Senate President said he's not going to address her from where she is until she moves to a new seat. And that's where the back and forth happened. What are your thoughts on this? Because there are many layers. The layer, obviously, first, are the rules of the House. Second layer is a woman is saying, you are stopping me from expressing myself. You're stopping me from legislative duties. Is that right? And third layer is that the history they've had where she was almost allegedly promoted certain groups where maybe she wasn't senior enough for those positions, but she was given that favoritism to get that, and now things have fallen back. So how does this now play out going forward? What are your thoughts? Let me start with you, BC.
Okay, so the first, like you rightly said, the rules. We need to understand how the rules apply in the House. What happens when people defect to other political parties and leave that space? And before you begin to move senators to other seats aside from their seats, which is their landmark, do you have consultations with them? Do you tell them that this is the new plan? You're going to be moved from here because we need to fill up this space. However, your rights are not eroded. You'll be able to pass your bill. We'll be able to listen to you. Is that sort of the rule? Or is it that you just wake up and say, okay, today when you come now, remove Lima's name from that place, remove Amaka's name from that, put Morayo there, and that's how it works. So we need to have a clear understanding so that we know who flouted the rule, whether it's the Senate President who flouted the rule or the Senator Natasha who, did not adhere to the rules of the House. That's on one end. Now, on the second part, I would have said because they have a relationship, standing up and reading, insisting that my rights are being eroded, I want the world to know, wouldn't have been the way I would go if I was in her shoe because of the relationship that I have. So I would have thought that she would have noticed what happened on that day, played it cool, then afterwards seek for a meeting with the Senate President and then ask, these are my grievances. Why is this happening? Why did I have to go through this in the House? Is there a reason for this? I've not been able to pass my bills for so and so amount of time. Find a way to understand first of all, and then hear the Senate President out. But standing like that would also give room to people who have felt, these people's relationship one day to scatter, that finally somebody has done something to somebody. And those were some whispers that we're hearing because people have always known her as his star girl, that he pushed her into so many committees, that she was not, like you rightly mentioned, was not in the frame to have been the lead for such committees like the content committee, blah, 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 local content committee and all of that. And so they said they noticed that from the first time that the Senate President had, you know, shushed her, that's a nightclub, this is not a nightclub sort of shushing, that she had withdrawn. And it was after that withdrawal they started noticing that some things where they had to move her away from the committee, they had to put her somewhere else, that she was no longer as vocal as she used to be. So people have already been speculating that there's tension between both of them. So she shouldn't have just given them the, okay, there's actually tension. Things are, she could have gone, that's my own personal opinion, gone behind to ask, why is this happening to me? How long am I going to stay in this seat? Will you still give me an opportunity to present? Then when all fails and you now come to the House and you vote and you present that, I've actually met with the Senate President, I've actually presented my case, I've spoken to him, I want to know what exactly is happening, but he's hell-bent on subduing me, then Nigerians can shout for you.
Let me come to the ladies.
Okay, so for me, okay, let's first of all talk about the clarity of the rules, which we've already spoken about. So when we have clarity of the rules and the applicability of the rules in the Senate, in the House, then we know who flaunted it. That's our side. So we want to talk about, for me, if the nightclub incident had not happened, and this was the first time there was an issue like this, I think I'll look at it from a totally different perspective. Okay. But for the fact that there's a history already of the Senate President shushing women from speaking up, right? So I'm now going to look at it from another perspective, and also coupled with the fact that I watched a show where Senator Natasha was called, and she explained her own side of the story. And there's the Senate President, Ababio, was called, and he picked the call and cut. When he was told why they were calling him, he cut the call. So from what she said, which is her own side of the story, I'm going to work on that. Because she had said that they were in good terms, they didn't have issues and everything till that nightclub incident happened. And after the nightclub incident happened, obviously it made her feel a type of way, even though he had apologized, but she withdrew a bit and started keeping to herself. And she had come, and then so many privileges that were due her were withdrawn from her, right? She also, she said that even most of the foreign and international trips that she was supposed to be on, that those were withdrawn from her. But what she now started to do was, if she sees any trip that she felt was going to be beneficial to her and her constituency, she would pay from her pocket. She would pay her fares, her hotel, everything, just to attend that. So somehow she was being bullied